We were at listening, right? Listening is the ability to accurately receive and interpret messages in the communication process. Listening is a key to all effective communication. Without the ability to listen effectively, messages are easily misunderstood. So, listening is quite important when we talk about communication. If you won't listen properly, you won't be able to interpret the message which is being conveyed to you, and the whole process of communication would not be effective. So as a result, communication breaks down and the sender of the message can easily become frustrated or irritated if you won't listen properly. So that is the importance of listening. Where is the screen? Yeah. Also, listening is the ability to accurately receive and interpret messages in the communication process. So it is not like that listening is only about receiving. You need to interpret the message as well. That is, you can say, the decoding of the message in the communication process. Well, listening is a key to all effective communication. Without the ability to listen effectively, messages are easily misunderstood. Improper listening leads to communication breakdown. And one important point, listening is not same as hearing. Hearing is just a part of listening. You can say the initial stage of listening is hearing. His hearing and listening is quite a different concept. Well, yeah, talking about hearing over here. So hearing refers to the sound that enters into your ear. It is a physical process that provided you do not have any hearing problem, right? It happens automatically. Listening, however, requires more than it requires focus and concentrated effort, both mental as well as sometimes physical as well. So it requires efforts. Talking about need and purpose of listening skill, why is it required? So the very first one is to specifically focus on the messages being communicated, avoiding distractions and preconceptions. So that is the first need. Second one is to gain a full and accurate understanding into the speaker's point of view and ideas. Next is to critically assess what is being said. Next, fourth one is to observe the non-verbal signals accompanying what is being said to enhance understanding. Next, we could say it is to show interest, concern, and concentration. Next would be to encourage the speaker to communicate fully, openly, and honestly. Also to develop on and selflessness approach, putting the speaker first. And the last one is to arrive at a shared and agreed understanding and acceptance of both side views. Fine. Now, talking about the characteristics of good and effective listener. Characters, you can, the question might come as in the context of listener as well as in the context of listening. So the answer would be the same, right? When we are talking about the characteristics of good listening or a good listener. Well, a good and effective listener tries to give maximum amount of thought at the speaker's idea being communicated, leaving a minimum amount of time for mental exercise to go off track, right? Also, a very good listener is number one is attentive. That is, good listener must pay attention to the key points. He should be alert. He should avoid any kind of distractions. Next one is a good listener need to be do not sorry need not it's like a good listener do not assume. So good listener does not ignore the information he consider is unnecessary. He should always summarize the speaker's ideas so that there is no misunderstanding of thoughts of speaker. He avoid premature judgments about the speaker's message. Next one is a good listener listen for feelings as well as facts. Now, what is this? Let's see. Good listener deliberately listen for the feelings of the speaker, right? He concentrate totally on the facts. He evaluate the facts objectively. His listening is sympathetic, active, and alert. He keenly observe the gestures, facial expressions, and body language of the speaker. In short, a good listener should be projective. That is, one who tries to understand the views of the speaker, right? And empathic. That is, one who concentrate not only on the surface meaning of the message, but tries to probe the feeling and emotion of the speaker. Next one is a good listener need to concentrate on the other speakers kindly and generously. That is, a good listener makes deliberate effort to give a chance to other speakers as well, right? So that they can express their thoughts and views. He tries to learn from every speaker. He evaluates the speaker's ideas in spare time and also focuses on the content of the speaker's message and not on the speaker's personalities and look. So, see how important listening is and what these are the basic characteristics of a good listener. Also, a good listener should opportunize. Sorry, a good listener tries to take benefit from the opportunities arising. He asks, "What's in it for me?" Right? So he sought out any kind of opportunity and grab the opportunities. Now coming to the next section of listening process, that is stages of listening process. So the very first stage of listening process is number one, hearing. That is, it refers to the response caused by sound waves stimulating the sensory receptors of the ear. It is physical response. Hearing is perception of sound waves. You must hear to listen, but you need not listen to hear. That is, perception is necessary for listening depend on attention. So that is the first stage of listening process, hearing. Got it? Second one is attention. Attention, by attention we mean brain screen stimuli and permit only a few select to come into focus. These selective perceptions is known as attention. An important requirement for effective listening is strong stimuli like bright lights, sudden noise are attention getters. Attention to more commonplace or less striking stimuli requires effort. Postural adjustments are aided by physical change in sensory receptors organs. Receptor adjustments might include tensing of the ear's tympanic muscles for better response to weak sounds. So that is attention. Next, the third stage of listening process is understanding. Well, to understand symbols, we we have seen and heard. We must analyze the meaning of the stimuli we have perceived. Symbolic stimuli are not only words but also sounds like applause and sights like blue uniform that have symbolic meaning as well. The meanings attached to these symbols are a function of our own past associations and of the context in which the symbols occur for successful interpretation, interpersonal communication. The listener must understand the intended meaning and the context assumed by the sender. So that is the third stage of listening, understanding. Next, talking about the fourth stage of listening, that is remembering. Well, remembering. For remembering, it is important. Uh, well, Well, you can say it is the basic or the most important part of listening process and remembering, right? Because it means that an individual has not only received and interpreted a message, but also has added it to the mind, right? But just as our attention is selective, so too is our memory. What is remembered may be quite different from what was originally seen or heard. So, difference might come when we talk about remembering, but it is the major part of listening process. Next, the fifth stage of listening process is evaluating. It is a stage in which active listener participate. It is at these point that the active listener weighs evidence, sort facts from opinion, and determine the presence or absence of bias or prejudice in a message. The effective listener makes sure that he or she does not begin this activity too soon. Beginning this stage of the process before a message is completed completed require that we no longer hear and attend to the incoming message. As a result, the listening process ceases. Now, talking about the last and the sixth stage of listening process, that is responding. Well, this stage requires that the receiver complete the process through verbal and or non-verbal feedback, because the speaker has no other way to determine if a message has been received. This stage becomes the only overt means by which the sender may determine the degree of success in transmitting the message. So that is responding. So these are the six stages of listening process. That is hearing, attention, understanding, remembering, evaluating, and responding. Now, next we will talk about the principles of effective listening. So, talking about principles of effective listening, number one, the first principle is stop talking and don't talk, listen. That is, don't talk, listen, stop talking. That is, when somebody else is talking, listen to what they're saying. Do not interrupt, talk over them, or finish their sentence for them. Stop, just listen. When the other person has finished talking, you may need to clarify to ensure you have received their message accurately. So, the very first principle of effective listening is stop talking, do not interrupt in between. Don't talk and listen. Now, the second principle is prepare yourself to listen, that is, to relax. Focus on the speaker, put things out of mind. The human mind is easily distracted by other thoughts, right? So, let's say, what's there for lunch? What time do I need to leave to catch the train? So, is it going to rain today? So, try to put these thoughts out of the mind and concentrate on the messages that are being communicated. Next is next the third principle of effective listening is put the speaker at ease. That is, to help the speaker to feel free to speak. Do not restrict the speaker, right? When you are relaxing, that is the second principle, you are following the second principle, you are relaxing and listening properly. Do allow the speaker the same space, right? That is, remember their needs and concern. Nod or use other gestures or word to encourage them to continue. Maintain eye contact, but do not stare. Show your listening and understanding what is being said, right? So that is put the speaker at ease. That is help the speaker to feel free to speak. Next, the fourth principles of effective listening is remove distractions. That is focused on what is being said. So whatever distractions are coming in between this process, you try removing it and try to focus on what is being said. So such kind of behaviors like distractions and all disrupt the listening process and send messages to the speaker that you are bored and distracted. Next one is empathize. That is, try to understand the other person's point of view. Look at issues from their perspectives. Let go of preconceived ideas. By having an open mind, we can more fully empathize with the speaker. If the speaker says something that you disagree, then wait and construct an argument to counter what is said, but keep an open mind to the views and opinions of others. So that was empathize, right? You try to feel what the speaker is trying to say. Next one is be patient. Well, a pause, even a long pause, does not necessarily mean that the speaker has finished. So be patient and let the speaker continue in their own time. Sometimes it takes time to formulate what to say and how to say. So never interrupt or finish a sentence for somebody. Next principle of effective listening is avoid personal prejudice. That is, try to be impartial. Don't become irritated and don't let the person's habit or mannerism distract you from what the speaker is really saying, right? Everybody has a different way of speaking. Some people, let's say for example, are more nervous or shy than others. Some have regional accents, or some make excessive hand or arm movement. Some people like to pace while talking, well others like to sit still when they are talking. So focus on what is being said and try to ignore the styles of delivery, right? So this is a very important principle, that is you need to ignore the other things which are been have which are happening right in this process. Next principle is listen to the tone. That is, volume and tone both add to what someone is saying. A good speaker will use both volume and tone to their advantage to keep an audience attentive. Everybody will use pitch, tone, and volume in certain situations. Let these help you to understand the emphasis of what is being said. Now, the next principle is listen for ideas, not just words. So you need to get the whole picture, not just isolated bits and pieces. Maybe one of the most difficult aspect of listening is the ability to link together pieces of information to reveal the ideas of others. So with proper concentration, letting go of distraction and focusing will become easier. So listen for ideas, not just words. And the last principle is wait and watch for non-verbal communication as well. That is, gestures, facial expression, and eye movement can all be important. So don't just listen with ears, but also with your eyes. Watch and pick up additional information being transmitted via non-verbal communication. So these are the basic principles of effective and good listening. Also, we'll talk about strategies to improve your listening. What could be the strategies you can use to uh, improve your listening? And give me a moment, please. So let's talk about the strategies to improve your listening skills. The first one is be attentive. That is, successful listeners hear it the first time. They are focused on the speaker and in the moment. So you have to be in the moment to be a good listener. So have you ever been told someone something and then ask you a question afterwards, and you have no idea what to answer? So you probably thought you were listening, but it is very easy for our minds to stray around. So practice mindfulness by consciously eliminating distractions from your mind and body. Shut off your smartphones, close your doors, move away from the computer screen. These are the few things which you can do to pay attention what speaker is saying. Next could be ask a question. So one of the ways you can stay in the moment is to ask clarifying questions, right? Repeat what you think the speaker was saying to gain clarity and understanding. What I think you are saying is, use such kind of phrases like, so often people's comment are open to interpretation. So show your desire to understand while reinforcing you are listening. So when you put up question, it feels like that you are showing interest. Next one is don't interrupt unnecessarily. So like wait, why am I uh, talking? All such kind of acronyms you try to avoid to keep your comments relative to the speaker's thought. Often I observe people ask question just to transition the conversation in another direction. Interject your question or thoughts at appropriate interval. जब आपको पूछना है exactly तभी पूछिए क्वेश्चन. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप स्पीकर की स्पीच या वो जो बोल रहे हैं उसको इंटरप्ट करने के लिए सवाल पूछे unnecessarily. So avoid those kind of things. So avoid interruptions. Next is to use body language. Well, in face, when you are talking face to face, you can convey you are listening by nodding, smiling, and maintaining eye contact. Well, public speakers are taught to actively engage an audience by making eye contact with one person at a time. You can pick up subtle nonverbal cues from watching the speaker's body language. Are they leaning away from you or leaning in? Do they have their arm crossed? Sound basics, but around half of communication is conveyed without being saying a word, right? So that is the use of body language. Next one is empathize, which we have already covered. Next is to take notes. Well, muscle memory works. Note taking can be done in person or on the phone. Not only will note taking it reinforce what's being said, but also it provide you with a permanent record to refer back to. People are flattered when you take notes. Ask if it is okay before doing so, right? So listening enables you to acquire facts that you can make decision that benefits your businesses. Next principle could be to gain information. Well, listening enable you to acquire facts so that you can make decision that benefit your business. By listening to a job applicant in an interview, take an example, you might discover his attitude towards the profession, performance in previous jobs, and information not detailed on his resume. This additional insight can help you decide whether the applicant is a good fit for your company or not. Well, a supervisor who listens to an employee complain about a health risk on the job might reduce injuries and enhance job performance. Just give me a minute, please. So where were I? To gain information. Now, next one is to developing and building trust. That is, listening is essential to building trust. If one member of a team does not listen to instruction, an entire project might fail. So listening is that important. So you need to build and develop trust as well when you are following the listening process. Next one is maintaining your reputation. That is, the reputation of a business depend upon listening skills as well. If you fail to listen to a customer, for example, the customer might not receive the service or product that the customer is expecting. When this occurs repeatedly, it can tarnish the company's reputation, right? A company's develop relationship with other businesses through verbal communication too. Talking on the phone and working on a task at the same time can result in misunderstanding. So you need to maintain your reputation, and that can be maintained by actively listening. For example, you have sold a certain product to any customer. If you do not listen back to that customer, you might tarnish your image, right? Continuously, if that happens on continuous basis, you might tarnish your image. Next one is listening can reduce conflict. Yes, a very important point. Listening can obviously reduce conflict. A conflict can arise when an individual feels misunderstood or mistreated. Let's say if you fail to listen to instruction and your coworker does the task you were supposed to perform, the coworker might be unhappy with you. Pay attention to non-verbal cues as well as if any individual's facial expression, gestures, or behavior contradict their words, ask question to find what they really mean. So that is motivating employees through listening. So these were the what do you say, principles of effective listening. You can include this in your long answer when asked about listening process. Now the next topic is barriers to listening. Well, as you can see on your screen, the barriers to listenings are being categorized. Yeah, into two sections. The first one is internal barrier. The second one is external barrier. Talking about the internal barrier, the first one is anxiety. Anxiety is like when you are trying to say something and you are trying to convey anything, but to whom you are saying, you are not comfortable enough to speak. Like हो सकता है कि आप आपके मैनेजर से कुछ बोलना चाह रहे हैं एंड यू आर वेरी मच नर्वस अबाउट व्हाट द थिंग यू आर गोइंग टू प्रेजेंट, या फिर किसी ऐसे से आप बात कर रहे हैं या बोल रहे हैं कि आपको बहुत घबराहट हो रही है या डर लग रहा है. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड एंजाइटी. सो आउट ऑफ एंजाइटी जो भी आपको बोला जाएगा या आप पहले से अगर आप डर होगा तो यू वोंट बी एबल टू लिसन टू इट प्रॉपरली. सो एंजाइटी इज द फर्स्ट इंटरनल बैरियर. अगर आप खुद कंफर्टेबल फील नहीं कर रहे होंगे तो आपको जो बोला जा रहा है आप वो ठीक से सुन नहीं सकेंगे, उसको समझ नहीं सकेंगे. Next one is self-centeredness. Self-centeredness, by this we mean you are very confident. Like speaker is, let the speaker speak anything. I know everything. I am so self-centered. I need not listen anything, and I know what they are trying to convey, what they are trying to say. So that is known as self-centeredness. That is, you are not giving proper attention to what the other people is saying. You are so much into yourself that you know everything, and you are not paying the attention. Next one is mental laziness, or you can say distractions as well. That is, you are not that active in listening, right? आपने एक दो लाइन तो सुन ली, उसके बाद you got so bored, या तो आपको वो जो जो स्पीकर बोल रहा है या डिलीवर कर रहा है वो सुनने में इतना मोनोटोनस लग रहा है, इतना बोरिंग लग रहा है, एंड योर माइंड इज फीलिंग सो लेजी टू पुट योर you are not feeling like to put your efforts into the this process, to put yourself into this process. So that is mental laziness. नेक्स्ट वन इज बोर्डम एंड सेंस ऑफ सुपीरियोरिटी. वेल बोर्डम इज लाइक कि अगर चीजें बहुत ज्यादा मोनोटोनस हो गई या आप ऑलरेडी वो लेक्चर एक बार सुन चुके हो या वो बात एक बार सुन चुके हो, तो दोबारा ऑब्वियसली जब कोई चीज रिपीट करी जाती है तो यू आर नॉट दैट इंटरेस्टेड इन लिसनिंग एंड यू फील अ सेंस ऑफ बोर्डम, राइट. Also sense of superiority, it's like I know things, similar to the second one, that is self-centeredness. Sense of superiority कि you know I need not listen to you because I know everything. नेक्स्ट वन इज कॉग्निटिव डिसोनेंस. कॉग्निटिव डिसोनेंस बाय दिस वी मीन कि हमारे दिमाग में ऑलरेडी कुछ थॉट्स चल रहे हैं. मान लीजिए, टेक एन एग्जाम्पल कि आप किसी से बात कर रहे हैं और आपका माइंड कहीं और है, लाइक कि मैं घर कब जाऊं और मैं खाना कब खाऊं या मैं सो जाऊं कब कब, आई एम वेरी फीलिंग वेरी लेथार्जिक, वेरी हंग्री एंड स्लीपी. तो सामने वाला आपको कुछ भी सुना रहा होगा, कुछ भी बता रहा होगा, बट आप वो उस बात को सुन नहीं पाएंगे ठीक से, उस बात को समझ नहीं पाएंगे, क्योंकि यू आर हैविंग दिस थिंग नोन एज कॉग्निटिव डिसोनेंस कि आपका माइंड किधर और ही है. Right, next one is impatience. I have seen a lot of people who are impatient, who are not good listeners. उनको लोगों का बोलना अच्छा नहीं लगता है. लाइक समटाइम्स कुछ लोगों की हैबिट होती है, दे रिपीट द सेंटेंसेस और दे रिपीट द थिंग्स विच हैव बीन सेड अर्लियर, या बहुत स्लोली बात करते हैं या बहुत जल्दी जल्दी बात करते हैं, तो पीपल लीव, उनको इंटरेस्ट खत्म हो जाता है, दे गेट इम्पेशेंट कि हाँ अब कितनी देर तक मैं सुनूं ये बात. सो इट्स लाइक दैट, सो दैट इज इम्पेशेंस. So these are the internal barriers at the end of the listener. Now, talking about the external barriers, the very first external barrier is noise. Noise like from the external noise, जब हम किसी से बात कर रहे हैं तो बाहर कोई डिस्ट्रैक्शन है, या रोड का ट्रैफिक है, या फोन का रिंग है. सो दीज कुड बी द एग्जांपल ऑफ नॉइज. नेक्स्ट इज विजुअल डिस्ट्रैक्शन. अभी टेक एन एग्जांपल कि एक टीचर क्लास में लेक्चर ले रही है एंड समबडी एंटर्ड इनटू द क्लास, राइट. सो व्हाट इज दैट? दैट इज अ विजुअल डिस्ट्रैक्शन कि वो कुछ भी पढ़ा रही हो मगर हमारा दिमाग जाएगा कि कौन क्लास में आया है, क्यों आया है. सो दैट इज अ विजुअल डिस्ट्रैक्शन. नेक्स्ट इज फिजिकल सेटिंग. फिजिकल सेटिंग इज लाइक कि ऑलरेडी इतने सारे डिस्ट्रैक्शंस आसपास है, तो लिसनर की बात हम क्या ही सुनेंगे, राइट. सो दैट इज द फिजिकल सेटिंग कि जब भी हम किसी से कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट कन्वे करना चाह रहे हैं और हम चाहते हैं कि जो लिसनर है वो ठीक से हमारी बात सुने, तो द चॉइस ऑफ फिजिकल सेटिंग इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट. तो उसके आसपास डिस्ट्रैक्शंस नहीं होना चाहिए, तभी आपका प्रोसेस ऑफ लिसनिंग इफेक्टिव होगा. नेक्स्ट इज द ऑब्जेक्ट्स एंड द लास्ट वन इज द पर्सन स्पीकिंग. लाइक हो सकता है कि जो बात करने वाला है वो ठीक से कन्वे नहीं कर सक रहा अपनी बात, या तो बहुत लेंदी कर दी है उसने बात, या उसके पास फैक्ट्स और इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं है करेक्ट, दे आर गिविंग द रॉन्ग इंफॉर्मेशन एंड यू आर फीलिंग लाइक आई द पर्सन इज टेलिंग lies, or the person is not giving the accurate information. Why should I listen to the person? दो हो सकता है कि पूरे लेक्चर में उसने एक दो बात गलत बोल दी हो, तो आप माइंड में खुद बना लेते हैं कि हाँ दिस पर्सन इज नॉट गिविंग द करेक्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन. सो इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द पर्सन ऑल्सो कि हाउ गुड अ listening process can be. So these are the barriers to listening. I believe with this we are done with our topic of listening. A long question is definitely coming on listening, whether it could be the process of listening or principles of good effective listening or barriers to listening. So do not leave this topic, right? Next topic is group discussion. Give me a moment. We'll start this topic in a minute. From your last unit, the topic over here is group discussion, right? So, group discussion may be defined as an activity in which a small number of persons meet face to face and exchange their ideas freely to attempt to reach a decision on a common issue. So, you can say meetings and meetings are a form of group discussions only. So, some of the features of group discussions are group discussion is commonly known as GD, short form GD. As the name suggests, it is a group activity. People are grouped in a bunch of common purpose, then they share knowledge, they exchange opinions, they brainstorming का मतलब होता है किसी टॉपिक के ऊपर हम अपनी राय दें, हमको जितनी भी नॉलेज है वी ऑल शेयर एंड create a, you can say, a pool of knowledge, that is brainstorming. Or you can also say to find solution by innovative ideas. Next would be we can say it is a systematic, purposeful, interactive oral process. Here, the members of the group share certain common objectives. Also, it is characterized by the formal and structural exchange of views on a particular topic or problem. Next is importance of GD. Well, GD is used as a technique for personality assessment of candidate for job selection or admission to professional courses. Well, GD aims at problem solving, decision making, and personality assessments. Talking about the characteristics of group discussion, well, some of the salient features could be interface. That is, a basic feature of GD is the interaction among the various members of the group. They see, hear, and communicate with each other orally by paying attention to each other. There are leaders and members in GD also. So, GD are effective only when there is a group of members and a leader as well, right? So, leader has to summarize the facts and information, integrate them, and stipulate thinking and agree to a unanimous solution of the problem. So the members of the group become actively related to each other in their respective roles. Next is participation. That is, the effectiveness and efficiency of GD depends to a large extent upon the active participation of members. And also interpersonal attraction. That is, a feature of a group GD is as long as interaction continues, the likes, dislikes, behavior, and temperament of members are known to each other. Among them, empathy develops, and as such, they share their each other problem. So these are the basic characteristics of group discussion. Now, the next topic over here is, well, the purpose of GDs. That the very first purpose of GD is, yeah, as you can see on the screen, to reach a solution or an issue of concern. Next one is to generate new ideas or new approaches to solve a problem. That is brainstorming, right? Next one is for selecting candidates after the written test, for employment, and for admission to educational institutes. Next one is to improve us with an avenue to train ourselves in various interpersonal skills. So these are the purpose of having a group discussion, GDs, right? Next is steps for GD, right? This is important. Steps of GD. Well, So normally there are 8 to 10 candidates. It may change, it may vary also, but normally we have 8 to 10 candidates are taken as a group. So though in some cases up to 16 people may be included in a group, and this GD would last to 10 to 15 minutes. इससे ज़्यादा लंबा नहीं होता है GD का process. Maximum you can say 20 minutes, not more than that. And the basic size is around 10. उससे ज्यादा या उससे कम बोले तो 6 7 और 10 is the base, you can say the average number of members in a group discussion group. And for a topic, maybe 2 3 minutes of thinking time may be given. So it's not like that key for every GD thinking time is being given. Sometimes for GE it is impromptu. That is, a topic is given and you have to start speaking. So though the group is often told to start right away. So that's what I told. So for case studies, however, about 15 minutes is given. Right. So whenever there is a difference between the group discussion and this case study approach. So when we are into case study approach, a more time is being given to for the reading purpose and for the analysis purpose of the case studies. So that's the difference of time between the two. Next is the evaluation is done by one or two experts. So when there is a group sitting for group discussions, there will be some external experts sitting outside the group. They will be judging each and every member, their body language, what they are saying, what role they are playing in this group discussion. So these people are expert with lots of experience and can be counted upon to observe all details, even if the GD is chaotic, right? Next is the candidate may be seated in a circle or in a rectangular arrangement with or without a table. Seating arrangement may be prefixed or there may be free seating. Like your place will be marked ki this is your place, you may sit there, or it will be free seating, like any member can sit at any place. Next is the discussion may be stopped at the time, set time or even earlier. So ये जो set time और earlier है, मतलब डिस्कशन रोकने के लिए, सो ये जो बाहर दो एक्सपर्ट्स बैठते हैं, these people do this work. So a conclusion or consensus may be asked, though it usually does not occur, right? A written or oral summary may be asked for the end from each candidate. So this is not necessary the last step, that is a or written or oral summary, क्योंकि जो expert इसमें बैठते हैं, they already prepare this summary what the members are saying. So this is not necessary कि for every GD they may ask you for the written or oral summary what you have spoken in the group discussion. So this was the concept of group discussion. Now there is one more thing with GD. Let's talk about certain key points for a successful group discussion. The first one is content. That is fairly good knowledge of the topic and awareness of the current situation will help prevent ideas from drying up fast and keep the GD alive and lively. If you are unfamiliar with the topic, wait for someone else to come up with important information and fact, then quickly formulate your stance and come up with your perspective, right? Next would be communication. Well, the language should be simple and lucid. Use the right word at the right time that gives clarity to the GD. And highlight your role, what role you are playing in this discussion. It is necessary to listen with great attention and react with pertinent comments as well, right? Next would be think before you speak. Well, listen and understand the arguments of other participants, and at the same time decide what point you should raise and how to avoid constant interruption while others are speaking. Well, the GD becomes meaningless if all the participants speak at the same time. Some candidates try to interrupt and even make fun of other participants. This strategy will adversely affect them. Why? Because there are these experts sitting and judging your performance in the group discussion. So if you try to try to laugh at somebody or try to take advantage of somebody's weakness, so they will give you bad remarks, they may cut your marks as well. So no point will be lost even if candidate openly support or agrees with the view of other candidate. Valid reason must be given as to why you support a particular point of view. Also, one important point over here is you need to avoid blunt statements. Do not try to speak blunt statements. Uh, Next is criticism should be accepted. That is, in case your views are strongly criticized, there is no need to be upset, right? Criticism taken positively will act as in a candidate's favor. हो सकता है जो आपको criticism मिल रहा है वो आपके लिए ही अच्छा हो. Well, expressing your views empathetically with the appreciated in a GD, it is equally important that you draw the more uh, agreeing participant into the discussion and involve them in the decision making process. The participant should be tactful while contradicting the views of other participants. Well, there are few tips for successful GDs. These could be: number one, prepare well by reading and reflecting on the topic. Next would be anticipate the point of others. You try to listen to try to anticipate what others are saying. Next is listen keenly and understand the points made by others. Also, break in and make your point without waiting to be called upon to do so, ensuring relevance to the context. Next would be loud enough to be heard by everyone. Make brief remarks, often rather गिविंग लॉन्ग स्पीचेस. ज्यादा लंबा बोलने से अच्छा है जो इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स है, यू जस्ट फिगर इट आउट एंड स्पीक दोज पॉइंट्स ओनली. डू नॉट अननेसेसरीली स्पीक बिकॉज द टाइम लिमिट इज वेरी लेस फॉर ग्रुप डिस्कशन. सो आप जब अननेसेसरी बोलेंगे तो हो सकता है कि वो आपकी परफॉर्मेंस पे ही इफेक्ट हो, बिकॉज यू आर वेस्टिंग टाइम. Well, be open minded and try to be group centered rather than सेल्फ सेंटर. कि ग्रुप किधर जा रहा है ऐसा जरूरी, ऐसा बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी होता है कि ग्रुप डिस्कशन जब हाफ पे हो गया होता है तो आप कोई नया पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू उसमें डालने की कोशिश ना करें. कि क्योंकि जो वो रास्ते पे चल रहा है ऑलरेडी, ग्रुप जो डिस्कशन पे जो उसको वे मिल गया है, इफ यू कंटिन्यू विद द सेम थिंग दैट विल बी ओके. उसमें अगर आप नया पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू एडअप करोगे, क्योंकि कुछ स्पीकर ऐसे होते हैं जो बाद में बोलना शुरू करते हैं तो उनका थॉट ब्रेक हो जाएगा. सो डू नॉट ट्राई टू इंटरप्ट विद अ न्यू आइडिया इन बिटवीन द ग्रुप डिस्कशन. Also, avoid personal attacks and name calling. If you know somebody in the group, usually there are random people in group discussion, but if you know somebody, so avoid personal attack on them. Back your argument with evidence and authority. Use appropriate gestures and expressions. Maintain eye contact with group members. So that is how, these are the few tips for a good group discussion. Next, let me check what is the, yeah, that's it. Next, we have two topics left, that is customer care and customer relation, public relations, CRM, as well as business communication and ICTS. So these are the topics we will cover in the next class, as well as we will briefly discuss about all the 5 units we in the next class. Also, I will try discussing few important points from your examination point of view, as well as will try to give you certain tips and tricks to write good answers, not only business communication, for all the subjects. So who's there in the class? Vikrant. Okay. So that's all for today, because if I start the next topic, the time will not be sufficient enough. So that's all for today. We'll try completing the work tomorrow, as well as the pending discussions will be held tomorrow. Anything, Vikrant, you need to ask, you need to share? It's clear. Good. If any topic you want any clarification, you have syllabus copy. You can unmute and talk.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. If any topic, you can go through the syllabus. You have the syllabus copy.
Yes, ma'am. I do.
You go through the syllabus. If any topic is there, you want discussion on any of the topic, or I have already covered, you want a revision of it, go through it and let me know. We can do it tomorrow.
Sure, ma'am.